Live.
Hola Madridistas, welcome back to another episode of Let's Be a Real podcast. If you guys are new here, don't forget to smash the likes and subscribe to the channel. We are on the road to 4K. New season, plenty of hopes. Xabi Alonso basically being tasked with this pseudo transition with respect to how our team is shaping up to be for the next decade. Um, This was a very strong test. People can downplay Sociedad's recent form, especially to start the season. Them really, lacking a clear, threat up front. They were one of the worst sides in terms of goals scored last year. But going away to Anoeta is always tricky. I remember Farouk mentioning in the preview that Barcelona usually have a much tougher time going away to Sociedad. But I feel like we have to fight tooth and nail every time to actually nick the 3 points whenever we play um, La Real away. But this game, I honestly believe we complicated a lot of the game ourselves. We never needed to be in that predicament to begin with. Um, we'll get into it, in a bit more detail. But quickly, Farouk, man, how are you feeling? 4 games, top of the league, no defeats, no draws. This is a much better start than we expected.
Yeah, it's a good start, but I think you kind of, said some key things, and the important thing is, although it's like 4 games, 4 wins, you have 2 clean sheets out of 4, but still, the team is still yet to, convince you that this is a team that, you can expect to go all the way through. So I still feel
Mhm.
like it's very early, and like we haven't still seen, definitive performances. Of course, like Kylian Mbappe is scoring, Arda Güler also seems to be getting into his stride, but yeah, as a team as a whole, there isn't much to see yet.
Mm, yeah. The biggest difference between probably the tail end of Carlos' second stint is the way we control games, in the sense that yes, we still get carved open with one good ball in behind, but the way we actually make opponents be in front of us, and them having to work to create their chances is definitely an improvement, and can't be looked past, to be honest. Because I was a bit underwhelmed by the way we set up and how drab we looked in possession. But out of possession, I think the team really has a solid shape, and I think that played a huge part in us, basically escaping uh, Anoeta with 3 points. It really goes to show that this is clearly a work in progress, and we need to really get behind the side, because we're going to see mistakes, especially like the one that Hausen made. Um, Farouk, if you remember, he did the same thing against Dortmund. You know,
Again,
uh,
yeah, absolutely.
I really I really am left wondering, what really goes through his mind whenever someone has a yard on him, because all top defenders, they might not be the quickest. Like many are not really blessed with pace. They have to really be intelligent, really have to um, be conservative. Even the most outrageously aggressive defenders, they can only survive. They can only be bracketed in one of the top center backs in the world only if they can basically weigh up their split second decisions to win most of the time. Because Hausen, whenever he is put up against someone who he thinks has a yard on him, he absolutely loses the plot. And it isn't even a deliberate attempt to go for the ball. It's basically attack the man out. What do you make of it, Farouk? I know he's 19. He has a lot of years on him to actually improve and get better. But considering that Militao is just coming back from an injury, and like you rightfully addressed, how shambolic we have been in terms of recruiting, proper defensive cover for our centre backs with Rudiger out, it looks absolutely peak. Hausen, is it something to be really worried about going into the season?
Yeah, I definitely think so. And that's the thing that you showed now that there's a pattern there. Like you talked about it, like it's twice, like in a row. And you see, like when he gets into certain situations, like his first
Mm,
instinct is just to pull the man back, something like this, or pull the man down. So I think definitely this is something to worry about, especially in light that we know that now Rudiger is out for at least 3 months. We have options of David Alaba and Raul Asensio on the bench. So I think definitely it's something that has to be, either discussed or coached out of him. But as you also highlighted, he's 19, but of course he's played a lot of, a lot of games and he has room for development and stuff like that. But it's not like, we're talking about a player from the academy we're talking about a player who has, like spent 3 years in Italy, spent a year in England, and now he's
yeah.
so I mean that's 4 years of well, that's almost 4 years of like top level, professional
Mm.
football. It's
Experience, yeah, yeah.
so, it's not like he's just coming out of the youth rank. So because of that, like that's something that has to be discussed and that's something that has to be ironed out, honestly.
Mm,
Uh, and go and again, that's the thing. Like, the interesting part is that you're just past the halfway line. You have
yeah,
another defender who is running towards him. And
yeah.
Militao is like super fast, one of the fastest defenders in the world.
Mm. And
There is a
Orzabal isn't really the quickest, is he?
Exactly. So that's the point. Like
Yeah,
there is a chance like that. He might catch him, he might not catch him, but let the chance play out.
yeah.
You understand? Like if
Mm,
Howson was the last person, you can understand, okay, like it's a tactical foul, take one for the team. But there is
mm,
literally someone galloping alongside you, you understand? So I kind
mm,
of felt like that was very harsh. That was very like rash, sorry, from him. But yeah,
mm.
let's see how eventually he's able to like, develop.
What do you make of the refereeing decision? I mean, a lot of the fans, they think Gil Manzano, he has a reputation. If you remember the Bellingham red card, the goal he disallowed against Valencia, he usually tends to play, the protagonist whenever we step on the pitch. But this decision, although it seems harsh, right? Like you could argue Militao probably is there to prevent that goal from happening. But since he is basically, in my interpretation, right? Like I'm not like a UEFA, pro licensed coach, but in my interpretation, since Hausen and Militao are basically on the same line, the chance can play out a lot of ways. Because if Hausen is bet, or Sabah can possibly, people bring in the equation that or Sabal isn't the quickest and he's not going to beat 2-3 man on his own. But what if he actually beats Militao for straight line speed? If with the ball, I'm telling you, I think that's what VAR saw, and that's why the VAR basically left it to Il Manzano to interpret the decision. Like, do you think it's completely on the ref being harsh that cost us the red, or do you think we gave the ref a decision to make?
Yeah, actually, definitely, Hodgson gave the ref a decision to make. But again,
Mm,
I actually like kind of feel like what you said now, that's the purpose of why we have these technologies. It's like to remove this level of like you have to make a decision about this. The point is this: why do you give a red card? You have
mm,
dangerous foul play. You have denying of a
yeah.
clear goal scoring opportunity. Oyarzabal wasn't going to score from half of the midfield.
Mm, mm,
Dean Huijsen was absolutely not the last man. You
yeah.
understand? So like how that becomes a red, okay, as I said, like from for you look at it from one angle, it can be, but honestly, from another angle, like you kind of feel like, yeah, it's just as you mentioned, the ref.
In my years watching football, Farouk, like those kind of 50-50 decisions where he might not be possibly the last man has been given a red card, right, Farouk? If I'm not wrong.
Not all of them, honestly, not all of them. Some of them have
Not all
been.
of them, but it has happened though. It's not an anomaly.
Yeah, of
It's
course,
not a
I'm not saying
one-off.
it's a new thing exactly. I'm not saying that. And that's the
Yeah.
thing I'm saying. Like I mean, you give the ref a decision to make in the first place, so he decided the decision. But what I'm saying is that when you have the extra technology to like review,
Mm,
you actually can review everything and see how far away he is from the post. You can see like the distance between uh, Militao like and Oyarzabal, and then also like even Militao and Oyarzabal. You can literally see the distance between them.
yeah. If
For you to
Militao
understand
can
that
catch him, yeah.
exactly like for you to understand that okay, like this person is actually not the last man, and
Mm,
like there is no dangerous, play involved, there is no denial of a clear goal scoring opportunity. Like, so the only thing that stays like him being the last man. That's the only
mm,
criteria that exists right now. So,
mm,
you need to like check and vet that, okay, I'm giving a red based on the fact that this is the last man. Is he actually the
mm,
last?
mm.
Look, this is what the tech does, right? So, but if
Yeah.
it was the ref alone, you can understand like the ref doesn't know, like what he sees is what he sees, you understand? But
Mm.
if he's the last man, and you have tech to verify that he's the last man, I mean, come on, we should do better than that.
Yeah, I see both points. I mean, both sides of the debate, to be honest. But like me, I've always said this: our referees, La Liga referees, are unreliable. They have an ego, much more so than every other top five league. Premier League used to have a reputation for big egos in the refereeing department, but man, us we take the brunt of it, and it almost seems like there is an agenda against us, and I wouldn't blame the people who think that. But then again, I would like my team, I would like my boys to control what they can control. At the end of the day, if we look at the intangibles, if we look at all these gray areas, let's be honest, these are gray areas. Some people would argue against it, but if we look at it and rely on it to consistently fall in our favor, we are cuckoo. We are absolutely in cuckoo land. Quickly, Ashik was mentioning, there was a lot of real estate behind Dean, Eda, and Eda. This was a ridiculous. Read every commentator and analyst called it a bad call. It was a yellow for sure. I see the sentiment. Flame Boy was asking us. I wanted to ask, what do you guys think about pressing? If you noticed before the red card, there were some moments where Sociedad uh, was easily beating the press, and also in the last match too. Yeah, all the people I did mention this. I think in the last or the last to last post match, people were getting really hyped about our pressing scheme and how Xabi Alonso is going to absolutely revolutionize the way we set up against teams. Who was willing to take the game to us, and I did mention Xabi Alonso can only do so much. If he asks, players like Vinny, players like Mbappe to press from minute 1 to 90, it's not going to happen. We have to make certain sacrifices, and this is the result of it. The team rarely presses in unison. I mean, it does have a pressing scheme for sure. It does have a few triggers, but it's still disjointed. Maybe it'll get better. I hope it'll get better because against better opposition in the Champions League, especially, we'll need it. Um, Quick thoughts, Farouk. Mbappe, scintillating form. Basically looks like a man on a mission. Looks leaner, fitter, faster, stronger. Almost like it's his it's his mission to basically shut any naysayers down.
Yeah, I mean, like, so the
Yeah, gone.
yeah, so that's the thing. Like, Kylian Mbappe looks like, the one of the only players actually who's like fit and fired. So the fear now becomes like, is it going to become a one-man show? That's also
Mm,
that's their ball. Yeah. Just talking about Kylian Mbappe, like honestly, he's been, like he was involved in the first goal that was disallowed. He was clever enough to pass on the back pass that led to his first goal.
yeah.
His move was what created the goal for Arda Güler. So basically, you can see like every good thing, that through the game for Real Madrid was actually happening through or with Kylian Mbappe, and that's basically what you want from him. But then, as I said, like the fear now becomes like, is he gonna be a one-man show, going
Mm,
forward? That's just the
mm,
thing. Mbappe
yeah.
is inside of the business.
Yeah, is it a case of being over reliant? But I think he's clearly stepped up a level from last season. He just looks a lot more natural playing centrally. I think like maybe the first couple of games I was incredibly critical that he didn't recognize when to drift out wide and when to really stay central. Um, Against Sociedad, maybe it wasn't that noticeable that he actually had to fill in a central position to help us beat a low block, because Sociedad aren't gonna basically set up like a Mallorca or an Oviedo.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, his blistering pace, his willingness to work for the team, come short, help and build up, turn men left, right, and center. I mean, Artist Elistondo, I'm pretty sure he's gonna ask for new genes. If he, if he wants to face Mbappe again, because he can't keep up. He can't keep up. You saw what happened in the Arda Güler goal. I mean, how many people can really turn the man on a dime like that with such precision and timing? Um, even the half chance. I mean, the back pass was a chance that Mbappe created for himself. How many players would actually dribble the team and really put that chance away? Yeah, he just looks like a completely revitalized player. I did feel like many of the goals that he scored last season weren't really important ones, and now I've a really good feeling that whatever he touches is going to turn to goal. And clearly, he is the main man. There's no question. Vinicius had an off day at the office. Didn't really look at it, but he was willing to help. I appreciate it. Everyone actually got behind the ball, especially after the red card. It seemed like we couldn't really give Sociedad a good look at goal, and yeah, we tried to hold the fortress down. But then again, I'm really concerned about the chances we still let up. It was a bit too easy to play through centre back at times, slipping in behind. But then again, one man stood tall in defense. Eder Militao, Farouk, quickly. Ever since he has come back, he has looked like his old self.
Yeah, actually, even in the preview, we were discussing that we finished that like how
Mm,
much can we push, Eder Militao towards, because like after coming back from two ACLs, like okay, yeah, he's still young, he's not that, I think he's 25, 26. So, there's still
mm,
like room for like the body to like grow and readapt and readjust to these injuries. But like, it was something that we actually were worried about. But as you rightly pointed out, like today it's been like it's also showed us that okay, like he can get back to a level he was, because I believe that there were a certain point, you know.
mm.
20, I think yeah, it was 21, 22, 22, 23 season when he actually had a shout for being the best center back in the world, actually.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
There was a point there, and then like, all of a sudden,
Between 21, 22, and 22, 23, yeah, he looked unplayable. Yeah.
yeah, so exactly. So like, like then all of a sudden, unfortunate injuries happen, two back-to-back injuries, in the space of basically, I don't know, 18 months. Like it's insane, honestly. So uh only time will tell, bro. Like again, as you said, like
Mm,
we just have to wait and see, when push comes to shove, when you have to grind out, games as we saw today, like today the guys
yeah.
have find out the like, good job as you mentioned, like a good cohesive unit as a team. They defended really well. Like Eder Militao also showed that he's up to the level that is required. So I just hope that
Mm,
his body doesn't let him down as he goes.
mm,
Because it's not okay, like his mind is there, like he's mentally in the game. He's
yeah.
getting some form. So the only question mark will always be about the physicality, because it's not easy to have two ACL. So I do hope
Yeah.
that he can, keep this
I
up.
completely understand. I think also what I notice is a lot more responsibility in Adam Militao's game, especially when he looks around. There is no Rudiger. He has fallen off. Uh, as we speak, you never know. Rudiger is an absolute warrior. He might come back towards the midway point of the season, but as things stand, when he looks around himself, it's Deanhausen, it's Raul Asensio, and it's Alaba on one leg. So he has to basically take the mantle. He has to basically be the voice that leads the back line, and he has done it so impeccably well. If there is a Militao 25, 26 compilation at the end of the season, this will be one of the matches which has the most airtime. So many Hollywood tackles, a
Yeah.
couple of incredible headers to beat his man on Arda Güler's delivery a couple of times. If it wasn't for Alex Ramiro basically being Superman, Militao would at least have a goal this game. He was that good. Um, super happy to see him back. Quickly, your boy Farooq Arda Güler, you were an inside man from your time in Turkey. 4 games, 2 goals, 1 assist, 14 chances created. Um, this is basically this new role has basically given him a new lease of life.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Like, like Arda Güler now is getting in the goals and all that. But honestly, I'm still on the fence about that, because I feel like
Mm,
role that Arda has to play is much more than, it's not a role that can be quantified by the stats of the goals or the assists that's happened. Like it's something that
mhm,
to borrow your word is something that you have to see with the eye test. But of course, it's good to have the goals here and there. But that control of the game that we need, to some extent, like actually, like let's give credit where it's due. We've seen that.
Yeah.
The thing is
Yeah.
that we all know that Arda Güler is learning on the job. So like,
Mm-hmm.
how will that translate into like pressure cooker environments? How will that translate into,
Yeah.
very high level games? That's where the
Mm-hmm.
question marks, But we can only celebrate or we can only discuss what's happened so far. And like, at least in the last two games, I think against Oviedo and like this game as well, at the San Sebastian, like Arda Güler has looked much more, better and much more composed as compared to the first two games of the season, honestly. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I do think because of that, at least we can see the progress. And of course, like Xavi saw what he saw. That's why he decided to play him in the role that he's playing him. So yeah, we just have to hope that, like he can keep finding it out and eventually, be the man that Xavi Alonso envisions him to be.
100%, 100%. Looks a lot more confident. His set piece delivery, I think, after Modric and Cruz, I was really wondering, can Arda Güler step up? We had seen glimpses last season, especially whenever he played. He had a good whip on him, but um, the more frequently he has hands on set pieces, it almost looks like it is an expected 1+ game every time he has set pieces. He has a set pieces duty. Um, even one of the near post, once he delivered a free kick that Carvajal basically could have done better. Yeah, so many great instances from Gullers showing tonight. Although when the team went down to 10 men, it got a bit difficult for him, understandably. So that's not his forte. You can't expect Guller to close out danger before it happens. But like Farouk said, he's learning on the job. Quick thoughts, Farouk. Carvajal, uh, handball, pretty unfortunate. Would you think he is back to his best, or do you think we still need to give him time?
Yeah, we still need to give him a bit of time, and a bit of gameplay to like play back into his best position. As you said, the handball was very unfortunate. Like, there isn't much you can do when you're sliding there. Like, I mean, I have never seen anyone who's done that kind of slide with their hand on their chest. I really don't know.
Yeah,
And
I don't know, bro. To be honest.
it's a
Mm,
pen. I mean, this is what the rule is like. It's a pen. There is no
mm,
doubt about that. But it's
mm.
what do you want him to do? Like cut his arm off and throw it away? Like there is
Yeah, yeah,
there isn't much to do in that case. It was very unfortunate. But like, yeah, we need to give Carvalho a bit of time to play himself into form, at least into
mm,
the form that we had,
yeah.
just unfortunate injury.
Mm. I agree with it. He had his moments, but then again, it'll take a lot of time for him to actually get back to his absolute best. Um, I think we have pretty much covered it. Thibaut had a couple of decent saves, as expected. Like I was a bit surprised that he kind of fumbled the Kubo cross at the back post. I mean, the striker that came off of the bench for Sociedad, he kind of bumped into him, so he kind of lost the ball, and it was pretty shaky. Sociedad, had their chances, man. It was very nervy. They hit the post twice in one move. Crazy deflection from Chouameni that hit the left post, and then rolled across and hit the right post. And Fede was very fortunate to not concede an own goal. Uh, yeah, we need to really, really make sure that we give ourselves the best chance to win games, man. So far, so good. Housen is going to be missing, the game of the weekend, so it's going to be interesting to see, how we set up Joe Mini back to CB again. He's going to absolutely hate his life again. I hope we survive, man, in the next home game because this Militao Housen partnership was looking great. But Marseille first on Tuesday, first Champions League game of the season at home. It's going to be interesting. Marseille, under De Zerbi is looking pretty decent. I'm not going to lie. They're having a very quiet but stern resurgence. Um, so yeah, it'll be a very very decent test for us, and this learned bunch. I must add, Xabi Alonso is no bullshit. When it comes to a substitution, and him not trying to be. He doesn't play to the crowd, which I kind of find it interesting. He just absolutely requires the 3 points and nothing else. So let's see how cutthroat Xabi Alonso is going to be, especially from some of the performances. Is Vinny going to start? It's going to be interesting for sure. But big up the chat. We have to kind of cut it short because Farooq is kind of having an emergency at work. But watch out for the preview. Hopefully, tomorrow. I'm not sure if we can actually have a guest on, but I'm still trying. I've spoken to a couple of Marseille fans, but yeah, fingers crossed. They can find some time and we can cook up a preview. But yeah, boys, make up the sponsors as always. Go check out Talksport and Fanatics. Links on description below. But until next time, people. Hala Madrid.
Real Madrid.
Okay, bro. Thank you so much. Inshallah. I'm not sure if you